Jar Jar is the key to all this. If we get Jar Jar working, because he's a funnier character than we've ever had in any of the movies.
Todd won't trash, Daddy.
I won't roll trash.
Because you know I'm all about that bass, no rebels.
Rogue One, Qui-Gon, Tashi Station, Holocron, Yenna, Jar Jar, Shakti, her plug.
Thank God you're alive. You have a map to the secret planet?
Miso Makataka Lupa. Good Lupa.
Man, this.
Discard to reload.
It's Discard to Reroll. We're a podcast about a little dice and card game we like to call Star Wars Destiny. I'm your host, Mr. Chip, and thank you for listening. We have got another just fantastic show for you today. I'm definitely biased because I made it, but at the same time, I think you're going to really enjoy it. We've got Jack from the Golden Dice podcast who is on here to talk all about his low-down, dirty Sabine Ezra playing. That's 2 weeks in a row for a deck that I just can't stand. It seems like that's all I talk about. I'm like obsessed with it. I can't get enough about talking about it. God, I think I've got a problem. Maybe I really like it. Maybe I want to be a Sabine Ezra player. If you have no idea what we're talking about, this is the podcast for you. We're going to explain Sabine Ezra, and Jack could break down Sabine Ezra like turn by turn for the last year. He's played that deck like every single match, top to bottom. That's the kind of player he is. And if you're that kind of player, you end up going 7-2 and being a top player at the World Championships. But I digress. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Hey, if you were listening to this podcast, then you know that we really want to build a strong community, and you are the re-rollers that help us to do that. I say every week, thank you to our Patreon and our patrons. All of you make the show possible, and I want to make sure that you understand at the beginning of this show just how much I appreciate you. I'm going to say your names real quick. Lester, Anthony, thank you. You are super ultra high re-rollers. You're Lando's high rollers. You talk about Lando being the hotness right now. You two have made this show really possible. Thank you so much. We also have James Johnson, who's a new patron. Thank you. Mike Eskelson. We've got John Devino, Ryan Scholz, CDEP, who's our first patron. We've got Ray from Thundershot. Daniel, he's not Thundershot anymore. It's Jackalman Games. So sorry, Ray. Keeping all your podcasts straight. We've got Daniel and Forrest and his wife from Rochester right down here. Thank you so much for your support. Joseph Ritchie and Joshua Levy, Justin Allen, Jarimy Springer. Thank you. Bryan Wakefield, Daniel Felton, James Dorf, Mike Rudin, the Rebel Spy, who's streaming like a madman now. We got Jonathan Moss, John Linehan, Robert Treadwell, Jonathan Bishop, Aaron Harding, Jeremie Wade, Jan Annarella. We've got Jason Belts right here from Rochester too. The Mailman, Hunter Lee, Sith Holocron. Sith Holocron is going to be on our program. Can't wait for you to meet him. He's been streaming like crazy. Sith Holocron, thanks for your support. Jack and the crew at the Golden Dice, Jeremy Taylor, Eddie Coughlin, Wade, Austin Ellis, Andrew Cravens, Uriah Stutzman, Jackalman Games, Elzig, and of course, our friend Jedi Geek Girl. All of you, thank you for your support of the show. And great stuff coming. And I hope you enjoy this one because we've got a great interview about to happen. Get involved with the show. It's questions at discardedreroll.com. Also, a special shout out to Sarah Evans for, you talk about cool tokens. Say what you want about Team Covenant. I love them. You know that I love them. Zach Bunn's been on the show. These tokens are legit. They are legit. Check out us on Twitter. I took a picture of those, and they make great tokens. I think it's her husband that actually makes them, and they sell them together on Etsy. And there'll be a link in the show notes about how you can get those because they are killer. I love them. Even the little Stormtrooper, the shield tokens, and there's one with the hand swipe, the thin helmet. Awesome. Love it. They will, I'm telling you, that's worth at least a couple wins. It's at least a couple wins in your playing. Also, I want to give a special shout out. Kingwood Hobbies. Now, this is Trey, and if you're familiar with the Star Wars Swap and Sell, the Facebook groups there, you'll know his name. He sent me in his championship box, by the way, which I want to say thank you for that. That meant a lot to me that you would do that. Foam inserts that you don't have to pay $1 million for these things. You don't have to buy the FFG binders. I mock them a lot. Some people really like them, so I apologize if you really like them. Jedi Geek Girl, I'm talking to you. I know you love these things. But really, Trey's got these custom foam inserts that go right in those. I think I'm going to get this wrong. Either they're 100 count or 200 count boxes. they're fantastic, these foam holders. So you head over there. It's Kingwood Hobbies. Let me make sure I have that right. I'll put any links to this stuff in the show notes because it is definitely worth you to try to figure out a good storage solution. Yeah, it's kingwoodhobbies.com. Foam holders for your Destiny die. I love him. And by the way, he's rebuilding his house after Harvey flooding, and he told me I didn't have to mention it, but I do need to mention that. So you're helping somebody out when you buy those. So head over to the website. And again, links in the show notes for how you can get those foam holders. I'll take a couple pictures of those so you can see them because you don't have to spend, again, $1 million. You just, if you don't have a crazy dice collection like me, even if you do, you can use those foam holders. They're awesome. But step up your game a little bit. Get things organized because when you start theory crafting, we're going to talk to our next guest about that. You want to be able to get your die and know where they are and have them safely stored away. And it makes all the difference in the world. Right now, I'm really, I pulled everything out of sleeves. Anytime things get a little bit out of control, I try to reorganize my die and my cards because I feel like it helps me get back in control over things. You like that? And my cards, I've focused a lot on the die and the dice, but the cards have gotten ridiculous. And I don't want to give too much away because my next guest, we talk about that. So I don't want to spoil it, but I really need a good solution for the cards. So let's talk about cardboard. Head over to Twitter or send an email to questions@discardedreroll.com. How do you organize the cardboard of your Destiny collection? What do you use to do that? Are you using binders? See, mine were in binders. I thought that was a good idea, but I'm pulling them all out of binders. I end up putting my play set in binders, but then I never use it. So then I'm using I don't even know, they're not doubles because I already have doubles if I have a play set. Even Battlefields, I have 2. I don't know why you only use 1. And truly, even the characters, you only use 1 card. It's the die that you need. But the cards, I end up using my doubles or extras of the cards and not touching my playset. But I don't want to keep my playset pristine. I want to play with my playset. So if it's in the binder, I never go get it. I've got problems. As you can see, there's some definite issues. I need some help. So send me an email. It's questions@discard2reroll.com. Share with me. Share pictures. Send me pictures on Twitter. Let me retweet that stuff. We need ideas. I need your help because we've got some cool stuff coming up. And I want to at least give it the best shot that I have to organize this stuff and maybe put a cool deck together. We'll see. But I need your help and the community needs your help. And thanks for supporting Discarded Reroll. But now the real meat and potatoes of this show. Our next guest has stormed his way onto the Star Wars Destiny competitive circuit. He's a 2-time top 16 finisher. But we had to go take the number down to when it was actually so top 16 finisher at both the regionals at Rochester and Connecticut that he participated in this past season, and he topped those finishes with a 7-win run, netting him a top 16 finish at the 2018 World Championships just a few short weeks ago, and that won him permanent bragging rights amongst his little group of Tommy and Shane on his podcast. But all of that while being a low-down, dirty Sabine Ezra player to boot. His podcast, The Golden Dice, features card-by-card match recaps of games throughout the New Jersey Destiny meta, and his co-hosts Tommy and Shane bring quality strategic talk and a little humor to boot. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Jack from The Golden Dice podcast. Jack, it is like I had to go through an agent to get you actually on the podcast now. It's totally different ever since this top 16.
The Twitter agent has really taken off.
Dude, you are, congratulations, man. I mean, has it sunk in yet that happened?
Not really. It's still kind of weird. I actually went to my first local since I've kind of been home from Worlds.
Yeah.
And everybody just kept making top 16 jokes. I lost a game and oh, you're down to 15 now.
Oh no.
Just keep moving
down. Knocking you down a peg each time. I was really bummed that I wasn't there, but the coverage was really good, and props to Chance Cube and FFG, who is much maligned, but they did a really nice job making sure that they had coverage of it. And it was just crazy to see the updates and see this happen. And then when you found out that you were going to be moving on, I mean, day 2 was your goal, right? Just from the beginning?
Yeah, that was my goal going into the tournament, yeah.
And so then you find out you're going to be moving on, right? To top 16. Is that when, describe for me real quick that process of when you knew that you made it that far.
So going I guess a little back to day 1, I knew last match I was sitting at 4-1. And I realistically knew that if I went into day 2 at 4-2, I wasn't going to make top 16 just due to strength of schedule. And at that point, it became more real to me. Like at that point, I'm 4-1. I already made day 2. I was like, all right, my next goal is top 16. Like, I could just shoot for the mall mat, but I'd rather, shoot as high as I can at this point. So it was like that last game on day 1 was so stressful for me. It was in Sabine versus Obi Maz, and it was super close, came down to the wire. And yeah, going into day 2, I knew I had a really good strength of schedule so they wiped your strength of schedule from day 1, but tiebreakers on day 2, like instead of an extended strength of schedule, it was now your strength of schedule from day 1. So they didn't mix it, but they still kind of used it.
Right.
And so I knew that was good because my only loss day 1 was to Edwin Chen, who went 6-0. And now I'm into.
I heard he's good.
Yeah, he's pretty good, I'd say.
Right. Wow.
So yeah, he stopped me real bad, and then I go to day 2, and I play 2 Yoda Hondos, which I was happy with because I feel like I have a good matchup against that, and I'm 2 at that point, and I sit down across from Taxter playing a 4-wide vehicle deck, which was not something I'd rather see, but I also knew that with my strength of schedule, I would have been in a good spot to make top 16 because I lost to a 6-0 on day 1, and day 2 I would have lost to a 3-0. So going into that game, I wasn't super upset I lost because I figured by strength of schedule I was kind of in the top 16.
Yeah. Now, were you a math major or an English major at was it Tulane or Temple again? I keep getting that wrong. Temple.
Temple, yeah.
Okay.
And I was an English major.
Okay, so help me with like strength of schedule. Was that something that you? By the way, it's discard or reroll. We just got right into it, but I need to have these questions answered because your agent said I had like 26 minutes exactly with you. So
yeah, it's counting down already.
So did you have this math going in your head? Like, do you even understand how the system works for like strength of schedule? How that there's like some crazy formula, right?
Yeah, nope, I have no idea. All I know is that basically when it comes to bubble stuff, if you lose to somebody who goes 3-3 or whatever, it might be, you're not going to fare well. But if you lose to somebody who went undefeated and you are in that bubble range, you're probably going to still make the top cut. But I could tell you the math behind it. People were already talking about how many people are going to be making day 2, how many people at each record, and all that stuff was beyond me. I was just really looking to play against what was in front of me and win the games. And if I lost, just fingers crossed to a good player. And, being Taxter and Edwin Chen, both really good players.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're definitely in it to win it at that point. And I understand. I listened to your little podcast you got going on there, and that you were not trying to hear my positive words of reinforcement. You were trying to like get totally psyched up, and you say, maybe I'll shoot for the mat versus shoot for as far as you could actually take it. Is your mindset different when you're sitting down at the table, or like what goes into that for you?
I would say most of the games, I didn't think too much about the goal. I just thought about the game itself and what was across from me and decisions to be made. But having said that, game 6 on day 1, like I said, when I was 4-1, and I knew if I won, I'd be 5-1 and have a good chance at top 16. That moments like that, it were starting to get to me a little bit. And then just that first round on day 2 was really super stressful. Like even holding my cards, I was like shaking a little bit from nervousness because,
right.
I knew at that point if I were to lose that game or if I lose round 2, I really doubt I'm making top 16. So it was just the games where I knew I had to win.
Yeah.
Sitting in those moments, it was just like it would get to me at times, but the last game and kind of the games in between weren't too bad aside from the ones I pointed out.
This question actually just came in from our audience here who's listening live. The question is, does it help that you're playing a broken deck? Does it help that you're playing the Sabine Ezra? That was a joke, little joke. Sabine Ezra humor for you.
10 out of 10.
Right. So, did you get the mat right on the spot? Like when, how do they pay up when that's over?
Once you're done, you go up and you collect all your stuff. At least I think that's what once I lost, I went up, got my mat, and I was excited too because it was cool on the mats in the bottom left corner. They're like in the beginning, I believe they didn't designate it as to like, say top 32 got the mats. All of them would just kind of be the mat. But now, like if you were top 32 in the bottom left corner, it said 32 with like a little gold, or silver shield. And then top 16, it would go on and go up. So it was cool to see the top 16 emblem on there, separating it a little bit. Yeah, making sure I'm above everybody, of course.
Clearly, again, that was part of the intro I had to say. So just another side note, as I'm listening to, all the content that's out there, the Hyperloops, they were trying to do the math in terms of how many loopers made it in the top 16. And as they're doing the math, I'm like, well, are they counting Jack in that group? I thought you were a golden dicer, not a looper. Are they trying to take you as part of their own? And is this bromance with you and Mike Jem? I mean, it was like, what is happening here? Are you a Hyperlooper or what?
I'm in their Discord, so I'm a patron to them, and I have gotten close out of the three of them with Mike. Him and I have had some good conversations, and I think him and I just kind of enjoy playing similar decks, so it's kind of easier for us to talk.
Right.
Joe, I've had a few conversations with, but I've actually never talked to Nick. But I don't take offense to that, because what I gather from Mike and Joe is that he's just kind of out there. Like,
yeah,
Nick will just do funny things. Like, apparently at Worlds one year, he found a mat on the ground, and they were at Taco Bell, and it was Rick and Todd from Knights of Ren sitting next to them.
Yes.
And Nick leaned over. He's like, "Do you guys play Destiny? I found a mat." And both of them just started laughing.
Not a lot of competitive play happening at Taco Bell, but it's interesting.
Probably not. But yeah, so I guess they I'm in their Discord, so I don't mind them grouping me into that, of course.
All right, good to know. Now, I'm just taking these notes and filing them away as we talked about. So Joe's deck comes along, not something that you were prepping for. Describe that match for us and like what happened.
Yeah, that was tough. I didn't test at all against that matchup. Of course, I tested against the standard vehicles of Ayla, Rose, and Ezra. So I knew, looking at his deck list, like he had 2 holdouts and he had DH-17s in there. So I knew he was going to play some weapons that were going to kind of stay on the board with holdouts having to redeploy. And I just kind of treated it as a normal vehicles match. I went for Ezra first. He has 2 dice. He can steal my resources, and that can really mess with Sabine Ezra, especially early game. But I still stand by that decision. But it was tough at times, because unless Sabine rolls hot, I really don't think you have too much of a chance winning that game. But yeah, so I just went for Ezra first. I feel like that was the right decision, because like I said, he'll steal resources. And ultimately, it's kind of tough unless Sabine rolls hot, simply because if I do 3 or 4 damage, then he has things like Caution, or he can take shields with Yoda. And it's tough too, because when you look at his dice across the table from you, you kind of have to assume that they're all max damage, simply because of Yoda. He'll be able to Yoda special into a double focus, into here's 8 more damage that you weren't expecting. So it was just kind of tough with a rookie pilot having a +2, Ezra having +2, and whatever upgrade he has out there. So it's relatively easy for him to get to 8 to 10 damage fairly quickly, and that was just too much for me to handle. Even mitigating a few dice, playing Lothcat, easy pickings. Ezra it's blown off pretty quickly, and Sabine died shortly after that, both games. And I think I got Ezra down to 1 health one game and killed Ezra and put a few on Yoda the next game. So it was definitely a tough matchup, and I kind of knew that going into it, but I was expecting it to be a little bit closer. But bad matchup and great pilot means bad stories for me.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, again, in all seriousness, like, that is incredible. I was rooting for you every step of the way, and it's so awesome that happened. And I want to know, future now, where do you go from here, and where do you think things are, the game of Destiny goes? But before I do that, part of the gripe that people have, I think, with the deck, with Sabine Ezra, is that it can just be so explosive so quick, and with cards like Running Interference and Never Tell Me the Odds, like, it doesn't give your opponent a chance to really do anything and play with that. What do you think? I mean, what's the secret to when you line up against that deck for players like who listen to our podcast, who are competitive but more casual competitive? Like, what are some strategies for them when they line up against it, in terms of what should they, if they know that that's part of their meta, that their stores that they play at, or in their group of Destiny players that they play at with, like, what are some things they could do to help mitigate it, or at least to make it a little bit more competitive of a matchup?
It's tough, because I think some matchups there's just nothing you can really do about it. I think you kind of have to go with almost build your deck around like a middle deck that can just punch out a lot of damage early. Like Rey Ayla is actually a good matchup for Sabine, because it takes them a turn or 2 to set up. And then once Rey starts pinging shields and Shoto, she's super deadly, but oftentimes she's dead before that can really get set up, or I'm forcing her to use an ancient at a time that they might not want to.
So middle, you mean characters that are like what, less than 15 points, like between 12 and 15 points, or like what how would you describe middle?
Yeah, so 2-character deck lists, which could be anywhere from like 13 or 14 to another character that's 16 or 17.
Okay.
So yeah, Ray Ayla with Profitable, and then you have Boba 7, the Boba being 16, Seven Sister being 14. Just like that, where they could just roll out and hit you really hard, very quickly. And another option also is the vehicle deck in terms of like Taxters or like Joe's, where it just has a lot of health. Like Taxters had 4 characters, and I think it was Ezra for 7, Hired Gun for 9 health, Temple Guard for 8, and a Rookie Pilot for another 7. Was that 14? It's like 29, 30 health. I don't feel like doing the math. Like I said, I'm an English major.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah. So that's just a lot of health. And Sabine's great at just picking off big characters really quickly. So, there was Obi Maz match. I could kill off Maz, or if I want to kill off Obi, like it's either option depending on how I feel it playing out. So if you're playing against Sabine, I think going for an option of where both your characters are still very strong, and even like Kylo Anakin, 17 and 13, but both those characters are very deadly, with the right upgrades on them. So a lot of health.
That matchup
is a really good way.
That matchup was tough for you, right? Obviously it's Edwin who won the whole thing, but that deck, I wouldn't normally peg that deck as something that would give you trouble. So what is it about that matchup that's hard for Sabine Ezra?
So actually, when I sat down across from it, I wasn't necessarily freaking out, simply because I've actually had a good matchup, or a relatively decent matchup, against the Kylo Towson version of it. But the Kylo Anakin was like a whole nother ballgame, simply because it put CQA online, which is such a good card.
Right.
And that's like 0 cost, count the amount of dice show in melee, and discarded that many random cards from an opponent's hand. So like the turn that he basically beat me, he was able to CQA and dump my second chance, and then there goes any chance of me living to the next round. So at that point, he killed that. I killed Kylo, and then it was Anakin with a Mauls, a Shoto, and an Heirloom versus Ezra with 2 holdouts. And there was just no luck for me there.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, what you mentioned, like, what were you actually? I don't know if you're considering playing it really, but what would have been your backup deck if your cards were burned in a bonfire before?
if somebody by the name of like Chip came in my house,
if someone happened to take that deck and just destroyed it in pieces, what would be next?
I had 3 kind of decks I was playing a lot. One Sabine Ezra. The next was Yoda Hondo. I wasn't like too crazy about that deck. It seemed like this is how I feel like it actually did play out at Worlds. It made a lot of day 2s. There was a lot of it, but did any make the top cut?
Boy, I don't think so. No.
Yeah. And that's how I felt about it going in. I was like, I think this is a really good deck. Get to those top tables, like those players are going to know exactly what to do.
Right.
In regards to Hondo. So I wasn't too hot on that. And then my third deck was Tarkin Seven Sister. And if you've listened to our podcast, you know that Tommy loves that deck. Joe from our local meta loves that deck as well. And I actually ran it in pods on Thursday with a one last, maybe I do this, and it was garbage. And I hated it. I was like, I don't want to play this. Of course, Tommy will say it was more me piloting than anything.
I feel like
easy pickings games, but
easy pickings has like killed Tarkin.
Yeah. It's like, about to resolve these 2 blanks or 2 whatever. Like, you're looking for matching sides, and then easy pickings just destroys you.
God,
and with Hondo and Sabine and Yellow Hero being everywhere, it felt bad.
So as you're playing and I'm home sulking, right, and all the drama's going on over there at Worlds, I'm thinking like, all right, what's some secret tech, and how we can stop Jack, basically just stop you from proceeding in your career with Destiny. And I thought, all right, so like getting in front of Sabine, I don't know if you can see my screen, Rebel Trader, right? I'm looking for those hidden gems. Activate this character. You may force an opponent to activate one of their characters as a next action this round. Wouldn't like going first and making you activate when you didn't want to be good?
So depending on how it plays out a little bit, it could be a little bit tricky, because if I haven't rolled out Ezra yet, I get to pick which character it would be, so I could just roll out Ezra.
Oh, it's one of their characters. Oh, I can't pick which one. Well, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
there goes that.
You could hold him. you could hold him until I roll out Ezra.
God, I was all excited.
That or something like that. But or you could run 2 of them. Then you just activate Rebel Trader, I activate Ezra, and then you activate your second Rebel Trader, and I activate Sabine.
Yeah, that didn't work really well. I think that's why, and that's why you're where you are, and that's why I do this podcast for everyone else. So great. I'm foiled already. But you know what I have on my side, or who I have on my side? His name's Jarimy Springer. You ever heard of him? He said, and it was his words, not mine. They asked him on the Chance Cube if he's looking at any particular cards. Now, the last time that happened, they talked to a guy who now makes Transformers for Wizards of the Coast, and he mentioned a guy named FN. And you know what happened there? So he did mention Sabine and about a negative play experience. Do you think something really is going to happen to Sabine?
Yeah, even back when Jeremy first took over, and this was like right after the Vibra Knife and FN and all that got changed.
Right.
I believe it was Knights of Wren that had Jeremy on. And he even said at that time, like, Sabine is on our watch list. But I guess she got bumped down because then R2-P2 and Qui-Gon Kanan kind of took over the meta at that time. And now that she's kind of resurgence, I think Jeremy already had her on the watch list. And just with her still going strong, and not just going strong, but going strong in a way that can be a negative play experience for players, it's just not, I think I don't know what's going to change.
Yeah, like, what do you do?
It could be just like,
she's 20 points.
It depends what you want to do. If Jeremy's just like, I don't care if she ever sees play again, let's give her +2. And
right.
That's an effective like ban on her, because what are you going to really run with at 8 points that's super viable?
Right.
Or even if you run her at single die at 17, like what at 13 points would be super viable. And I don't really think anything, at least enough to win, like sure, it could win a store championship of 20 people or something like that. But, if we're talking, well, she'll be gone by Worlds next year. But, early regionals, she could still be around. If she gets a 2-point bump, I just don't think she could ever see it. And what's a shame is that I feel like she was really designed around thermals.
Right, yeah.
And like that idea.
That didn't happen, did it?
People put like a thermal in maybe, but
no.
It didn't really work out. I think something it could be. So right now her wording says like before you activate, you may play a weapon. If you could do it along the lines of like changing the wording to move a weapon from your discard pile while still paying its cost, because you would only get that ambush from playing it. You wouldn't get it from moving it.
Right.
So there's that option too, because if that happens, she still has a really good ability of being able to just kind of discard her weapons and play them from the discard pile, but she doesn't have that oppressive ability of being able to ambush, roll out, and either resolve 10 damage naturally or instantly play Never Tell Me the Odds. So that could help it. I don't know where Jeremy's at. He, like I said, he could just be like, I'd rather not worry about it. Let's just get rid of her. 2 points, 3 points. See you later.
Yeah, or you ban Never Tell Me the Odds. I mean, really, or ban running interference, because everyone hates that card. In the setting that aside after you use it, I don't think that even had any effect, did it?
It did a little bit. I think I played Never Tell Me the Odds with run interference twice, maybe. Definitely once, maybe twice at Worlds. And it definitely changes it, because before, if you were to play run interference, you would be able to use it again to activate and slow them down so you could still stay ahead. But now sometimes if I play run interference, especially against Obi Maz, I might be an action behind and now they're claiming ahead of me, and that's not a spot that I want to be in. So it definitely added some complicated aspects to it of not, finding the right time to play it, but it's still such a good card. Like,
right.
I'm not trying to deny that or anything. The combo with that of Never Tell Me the Odds is super good, but I did find myself playing it a little bit less at Worlds, and like at the regionals, I probably played it like every game.
Right. One of the things that, I know people were disappointed about the hyperspace report or whatever it was. The thing that I took away from that, which was actually a positive, I think, is in X-Wing, they're going to be doing the app where they would have, they could adjust the meta on the fly. So I don't know how, honestly, I don't play the game, so I don't know how that all works, but whether I think there's points involved, right, in X-Wing about how you make your lists or build your lists. But
yeah, like you would take a ship, you would give it a pilot, and then you could give it upgrades, and all those things cost points up to 100, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. That's just it's so foreign to me. I just like the ships. They look really cool, and they're already painted, so I don't even worry about that. But if they did that for Destiny, and I remember Zach Bunn talking about it a little bit, and I thought it was such a good idea that, you have, first of all, if you have an app that gives you the up to the minute point totals. Now, again, I don't think they would do that on a day-to-day basis. They could, or for certain tournaments or themes, but you change those points in there, and then it's got, if you're going to change like descriptive text, which I always think is super hard to do, because they don't, I haven't seen anything published by them that are like fixes to the cards. So you have all these cards that read differently than the way that they actually play. But having an app where they could actually adjust those points and tinker with them a little bit. What do you think about something like that for Destiny?
Yeah, I'm definitely behind that in terms of point costs. You could probably convince me in terms of like card changes too, like text changes. I probably wouldn't really oppose that or anything, but
yeah,
I really think it would be a great idea to have the point cost. Maybe the only characters I would ever put point cost would be like if they ever did like another 2-player set. That way, if somebody were to just pick up the game, they wouldn't be like, oh, I have to download this app now. Like it'd still be right in front of them type thing. But of course, those characters could still be within the app and changed. So they'd be like the one exception of the only ones having that point cost on them. But I think it would make the game a lot easier because sometimes even now, like I catch myself. I'm like, all right, I'll put FN in this deck for 10 points. Oh, wait.
Right. Yeah, I know. Can't do it.
And so, yeah, I do think just having that flexibility. But of course, you would need to. Yeah, it couldn't be like you wake up one day, be like, oh, FFG changed the point cost again.
Right.
You know, third time this week. Like it would still probably be as often as they do it now, but it would still be just so much easier to check it and players be up to date without having to worry about, you know, is this list legal?
For sure. And I would love for them to have some sort of a dice rolling app too. And I know that sounds goofy, but you know, there's a lot of weird things that can happen with dice. There's a lot of weird things that can happen with shuffling. And if you can take some of those mechanics out of the game, I don't know, in certain environments, and you've played in a lot of them, Jack, where rolling dice can be hazardous to your health. Truthfully, like people are so close together, dice are going all over the place. I learned from watching I watch crazy YouTube videos about like, can you control dice actually when you roll them? And the like craps and casinos, they make them, you have to throw them against it looks like the audio proofing. Yeah. And because it completely randomizes it as soon as you hit it. And I don't know. There was just there might've been some shady stuff going on.
So what you're telling me is that you've been practicing for store championships a lot?
What I'm saying is that my rolling is precise. No, actually, one of the experiments I want to do is I want to take Sabine and I want to roll her character die 1,000 times. And this will be the worst stream in the history of Destiny streaming, but I'm going to do it. And I want to roll it and I want to track each die individually to see exactly what it would roll. Like, would I roll as good as other people roll against me when they play with Sabine? I'm just bitter. I'm just really bitter to the point where I'm going to roll her die 1,000 times. That's what I think. I feel like you have done that already with your die, but
I probably rolled it about 1,000 times, I guess. Yeah.
I don't just want to say, I feel like they've got an opportunity on the digital side to make it really cool. And, you know, everybody's buzzing about Tabletop Simulator and stuff. So if they do something, they got an opportunity to make it like really unique rather than just take away something and not give something in return. I don't know.
Well, I know they are, and Asmodee in general has been really pushing like digital.
Yeah.
And I know Lord of the Rings, I think, is on there, but then even their other non-card games like Mansion of Madness is on there, I think like Scythe, Agricola, like there are some like games which I agree that they're probably easier to put on there.
Yeah. But
if they're starting to move Lord of the Rings, which is an LCG, a living card game, I think you could probably do a collectible card game like Destiny.
Well, I'm still not a huge back into Magic at all by any means, but you know, being part of the beta for Arena, it's fun and it takes care of a lot of those rules. And I think for new players, particularly growing this game, like it wouldn't, I don't think cannibalize people buying the cardboard and plastic. I think if they could play an experience where it'd be positive for them and it would help them with counting some of the damage and some of the rules that can be a little nuanced, like that if it would take care of it, it'd be pretty sweet. And in the Star Wars theme, it'd be, I don't know, be pretty amazing.
Oh, I agree. I mean, if you get somebody to buy, say somebody new comes into the store, you tell them to buy the 2-player kit, they do, and now they start playing a little bit more and they start to have questions about the game. Very few of them are just going to go to fantasyflight.com, go to products, go to Star Wars, go to Destiny, and then open up the rules reference and start to look through Balance of the Force and, you know, erratas and clarifications. Meanwhile, if you had that on an app, I think, and then you could just look up a card like instantly, be like, oh, this is it. Oh, here's the clarification on it. Or like a keyword. What does ambush do exactly? And you could just type it in. It'll tell you right there. Like that would be, I think, go a very long way in helping new players learn, you know, just the ins and outs of this game.
Yeah, 100%. I think that. What do you think about you were there playing and, you know, in the throes of being competitive, but did you have a chance to like enjoy the community a little bit? I mean, you're a community maker. I mean, at the end of the day, and were you able to interact at that level, you know, at all? And if you were, what do you think about the health of the game based on your? I mean, I know it's biased seeing that you're at the the mothership of Destiny, but where do you think things stand?
I came away from Worlds certainly on a high, but not high.
That's probably good.
It was really great. And so, yeah, Friday and Sunday, I probably turtled up a little bit in terms of my normal self. But even like when I was playing on Friday, there were like a few guys that I just happened to like. Mike Rudin played the same day as me. So it was like
Right.
after every game, him and I were checking in, and there were a few other people that he knew. And I was, chatting with them, and like Corwin, I believe he's like affiliated with Knights of Ren, but not on them. He's one of their friends. And he was the only R2P2, I think, that made day 2. So it was like, just getting to meet them and checking with them throughout those days and seeing how they were doing. It was really good and still able to connect with those people. And then in terms of side events like pods, like, sure, I still kind of get frustrated sometimes when I lose or something like that. And that's just the nature of me. But it was still like, they were such a blast. Like I owe 3 to pod or, 1-2 a pod. It's still like, I was still having blast meeting people and seeing what decks they were running and talking to them about where they're from and how they did and stuff like that. So it was great. And then on top of that, the Knights of Ren meetup was an absolute blast too. Even though I walked away with a double blanks bandana,
I'm sorry
great.
about that. Was it a used one? I mean, that's like
it might have been. I saw a little Doritos on there.
Yeah, then that's definitely him. Or cheese.
Sweet tea poured on it.
Sweet tea. That's all I hear about is sweet tea and all the podcasts now. So talk to me about you're starting to stream a lot more. There's some live streaming that's happening, or at least your video camera's down there when you're on TTS. And just recently, now I know that it's a big deal and you're top 16 finisher now at Worlds, but I noticed as you were streaming, there was like a group of people behind you, like madly sorting cards. And it was for like, I kept fast forwarding the video and I don't know, you went like 3 hours. They didn't move. Like it was one person who I'm guessing you're going to marry at some point, maybe if that's still on. And then somebody else joins the fray and then they've got cards and there's cards going back and forth. Like is it a sweatshop? What the hell is going on over there?
Yeah, I basically, Monday morning, beginning of the week, I file what decks I want made.
Yeah, right.
And,
right. Re-sleeve. You want everything re-sleeved.
I had already made plans with Shane to stream that night. And so we were ready to do it. And then Carrie, my fiance, wanted to, she normally works that night, but now had off. So she wanted to kind of do something. And I was like, well,
what a great idea to show her a great time, honey. Here's my cards. Go ahead and sort them by color and number.
This is you twisting the story. You haven't even let me.
I'm sorry. Please continue. I digress. Go ahead. Tell me what really happened.
You're coming at me about this, but you're the guy that forced all of your children to open up like 100 boxes of.
That was part of their work release program. I was just trying to help them.
Course.
You know about building youth. That's what you do for a job. I was building the youth of America. So were they just offered to help you? What were they doing?
No, that wasn't even my collection. That was so my best friend Bryan, who you met, came with me to Rochester.
Oh yeah.
He is reorganizing his Destiny collection. He bought 4 binders and now basically like each set has its own binder. And he was just taking them out of binders and sorting them. And he convinced my fiance to help him out, so it wasn't even me. It wasn't even my Destiny collection. It was somebody else's.
You really show her a good time. Like that's sort my friend's collection of Destiny cards. What does your collection look like, by the way? So tell me about people really care about this stuff. Like, when did you start actually collecting cards, and what do you have?
Yeah, so I started probably a little over a year ago, right when they reprinted the Kylo and Rey starters. From the Awakenings block. So I missed Awakenings, and I probably was a month before Spirit Rebellion. And yeah, it's been a giant sinkhole of money since then. And
for sure, man.
For a collection, I guess if people are curious about how many boxes and stuff I buy usually buy about 3 boxes. And then just tournaments, they're pretty generous locally with packs and stuff like that. So I'm able to kind of fill out my collection and trade and stuff after that. As for storage, I do 2 separate binders, and I do it by block. So one binder has all of Awakenings, all of Spirit, and all of Empire at War.
In the binder.
Now my second, in the binder, in one binder. And then the second one has Legacies currently, and the 2-player set.
And Rivals?
And Rivals. Yep, Rivals in there too. So yeah, I got it separated that way for cards. And then for commons, though, I basically have these, I don't know, like 150 cards. They're like white, like long boxes
Yeah.
that just are made for holding cards. I don't know what they're called. I'm sure somebody out there.
I think they're actually called long boxes.
Long boxes. Okay. Yeah, I have them. And then, of course, they're broken down the same way, too. Like, one has all the commons from the first block, and the other one has one from the second block. And then they're broken down into hero, neutral, villain of color. So, like, the first will be hero, neutral, villain of red, and then blue, and then yellow, and then the gray cards, and then battlefields and plots at the back.
Are they, like, by number, or how did you, alphabetical, or what?
No, the first time I did that, I, like, separated them and like just put them in stacks. So like
Right.
all the hit and runs were here, and then defensive positions were here, field medics were here. So it's like they were kind of the same. But when I got to making new decks in and out, I just kind of started throwing the cards back in. Like I would still say if I took out 2 hit and runs, I'd still put that back in the hero red section, but it might get mixed in and in between some other cards. So they're all generally in the same area, but you know, it's too much to keep them in like numbered and order and all that stuff in set order. So they're just all kind of together. It's quick enough to find them, so.
Right. Do you have a play set of each one, or what? What's your...
Yeah, basically, I'm probably short. Like, I don't have Darth Vader from Awakenings. I don't have Palpatine.
Oh, my. I'm just happy to be
From
holding
Rebellion.
them in my hand right now.
They're actually the ones you stole from me.
Yeah, right.
After you burn my Sabine card.
I don't even want to tell you. So I'm asking because I actually am reorganizing everything again. And I feel like I do that when I don't have control over my life. So then I try to reorganize things, and then I feel like I have control over the little things. And I have, so I'm not counting the legendaries right here, but if I had, and these are duplicates or triplicates, like beyond a playset, and the number I just counted, I separate them by color, just the characters, which means it has to equate to a pack because it has a die with it. I had 110 extra characters cards. So that's 110 packs that I didn't need to open because I already have the playset. That's a problem. That's like a legitimate problem.
I'm probably around there. I try actually to keep, in terms of dice cards, I try to keep 4 of every card.
4?
Not so the legendaries. The legendaries I just get 2 of. But the rares, I kind of hold on to them. I don't care if I have less than 4. I want at least 2, but if I have 4, I'll still hold on to the extra 2, I guess. And that's because my fiance would play with me sometimes. So
Yeah.
sometimes she would try to steal my cards, but I needed extra.
She'd try to steal your cards. She's trying to take them and hide them. That's what she's trying to do.
Yeah, probably.
But like, I mean, I don't know if there's ever going to be a time in my life where I need my playset of Dark Advisors, let alone 4 more. Maybe.
Yeah, those characters are just like, if I have 1, okay.
All right, I'm going to throw some characters. Jack, if you got a few more minutes, I'm going to throw some characters at you
absolutely.
that I just feel. Now, my what was the card that I thought was going to break the meta and it was wrong? What is it? I don't even remember the name of the card. That's how sad it is. Rebel Trader. All right, that didn't work out.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to give you that was just a warm up. Here's the characters that I think have something like to be discovered, right? Lobot. What do you think about Lobot?
I actually, in Worlds testing, I was running him single die with Sabine a lot.
Whoa.
I actually do like Lobot. I think there's, I obviously ended up thinking that 2 dice of Ezra was better.
Right.
But Lobot's Guardian ability with a fast deck is awesome. He's got a focus and he's got that special, which is pretty good. And, I was running it with yellow, so it did let me play impulsive if I wanted to play. But I do think he's pretty good for 10-13, and especially at single die at 10
Yeah.
for 9 health and Guardian. I think he's a pretty solid thing. And, he gives you access to leadership while having Guardian, which I don't know if there's any other Guardians that do that.
No,
Maybe.
I don't think there is.
For red, well, I guess there's Obi-Wan, the original one,
Right.
but he's blue. But I don't think there's any red unique characters that have leadership.
Man, I just think, God, I love that special. I thought there's something there with that special. And there's no real special chaining right now for villains, right? Does anyone do it? What does Datapad? Right. That's it.
That's about it, I think.
Yeah. That's a missing component, I think. And they probably do that on purpose because it would be nasty. But, okay. So I feel like there's something there.
He's what Luminar should have been, kind of.
Okay. Well, there you go. Luminar's a great character. Very cool character. Here's one that I feel like there's got to be like things that change the overall like main mechanics of the game. Like the fact that you get 2 resources, right? So Newt takes away those resources after the first turn, correct?
Yeah. I think the issue with him is that he doesn't do it the first turn.
Yeah.
So somebody could still set up pretty decently and with only 8 health. And I know he's 8 points, so it's like a good trade-off in terms of health cost.
Right.
But it's like,
Still
especially, I don't know why you would ever run him at Elite, but if you put 11 points into him, he could easily die first turn before his ability ever is able to get off. If I get a +2 on Ezra, then double 3s on Sabine, that's your worst nightmare, Chip.
That's true. The whole thing is my worst nightmare, Jack. But here's the other thing I stayed up late at night. This is the one that really, other than Lobot, I'm trying to find the card right here because I have a couple extra ones. Where is she? She has 9 health. She's 12-15. She's a villain, and she really messes with the main mechanic of the game. That might be the name of my podcast. Do you know who I'm talking about? She's right here.
Asajj?
You're right, Asajj. After an opponent discards a card from their hand to reroll dice, you may force them to choose and discard another card. I feel like people get, and I don't blame them. I mean, they listen to this podcast, they feel like discarding to reroll is a great thing. And it is a great thing. It's a great thing to listen to. But it's that mechanic that people they just get so careless and throw their whole hands away to reroll. You force them to do it twice. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a super good ability, and I do like her, but I think she suffers from the early set point bump, as I guess you could say.
Yeah, too high.
For 12, even at 12, she's 9 health and isn't offering too much at single die, and then at 15, there's half your team for a character that could easily die at turn 2. But her ability is awesome, and I do think she is worth more examination. And actually, my one buddy, I remember back in Spirit Rebellion, he ran like single die Asajj, single die Bala, single die FN, and somehow won a store championship with her. So he loves Asajj. So we're always exploring the potential with her, because I do think that ability is really good. But like I said, for 12-15, it's just kind of, there's better options at that point cost. So.
Yeah. So Zach, who you met at the Rochester Regional when you were here, here's what he sent me tonight, because we were talking about Lobot. He says he's got his idea. Here it is. Lobot Lando. Profitable connections start with 4 resources. Vehicles or big gun. This is his text to me, by the way. This is just random text during the day. Drawback, not like hello, nothing. Ready was what it's ready. Lobot Lando profitable connection. Drawback is only 20 health, but you would have a big gun out early. First turn Millennium Falcon or Fang Fighter. Fang Fighter with strategic planning equals 2 attacks. He keeps going. This is like 90 texts I get during the middle of a meeting. I'm getting 4 resources to start plus Lobot special could mean 5 to 8 damage minimum. 10 for Fang, 7 or 8 for Falco. That's his short for that. What do you think about his new theory crafting Lando Lobot vehicle deck? What do you think about that?
I could get behind it. It's tough if you're trying to like really make work of Lobot's special.
Right.
While he has Guardian, so he's generally going to be the first character to die, kind of. And then there goes that special and the increase. But it's funny that he actually says that, because one of my fun decks I've been playing with is Lando Rose. And you still get profitable with it, and both of them you get 4 dice with it. So we're on the same wavelength right here. I do like the idea of starting with 4 resources.
Man, he's like a mad professor genius trying to put these decks together. It's like you get to the point of when you start playing this game, and I feel like it's been a year now for me, that you can start to have those like conversations in your head, and then it just it takes over. It can be a real obsession to start putting these cards together.
Yeah, it's bad, especially now after Worlds, where I'm like, all right, all my competitive stuff is done. Sabine, you're put away. Hero Vehicles, you're put away.
Yeah.
Yoda Hondo, you're put away. What can I do now? So it's like now, just every day, I'm like, what about this character? What deck can I make them with?
Yeah.
And then suddenly I'm taking apart my like 3 other decks to make this one deck that I'll probably take apart the next day to make it.
But I think that's smart, Jack, because I genuinely believe this part, and I know I say a lot of BS, but I definitely believe that there's not enough people that play Destiny yet that we can say like there's just a few groups that actively pursue every possible combination. I mean, there's like 30,000 combinations if you look at Team Builder and the app that I use all the time on iOS. Like there's 30,000 combinations. There's no way everything's been explored. So like for someone to tell me that Palpatine, the new Palpatine's bad, yeah, okay, right now it is, but who knows? And it just takes one or two cards, and look out. You know, that's could be serious.
It's tough because especially as content creators, and then even just like chatting on the forum, like if you go on Reddit, like people will just generally gravitate towards what the top opinion is upvoted on Reddit, or if like one of the top podcasters, you know, if Knights of Wren or Artificery or Hyperloops, or, you know, we come out and say like, this is a good card, this defines the meta type thing, like everybody's just kind of going to accept it, and they're going to see why it's good. And, you know, generally if, you know, Mike Jem or Joe or, you know, some of the other guys say that's a good card, it's
for sure
probably a good card. So there's
no
something there. But then that just kind of stops other people from exploring. You know, once people realize what a good card is, they just stop thinking about other possibilities. They just think about what can I jam, you know, in my deck to get the most I can out of this one card. So there's definitely a lot of room in this game for people to just keep exploring and just keep trying to find what might work, what pairings might, you know, we see come out of the woodwork that we never expected before. And even if it's just like a change in like a current build, like Taxter's 4-wide, vehicles are everywhere. You know, people know about it, but nobody thought a hired gun, Ezra, rookie pilot, and a Jedi Temple guard were you know, go to top 16 at Worlds. You know, that was it was really awesome. So there's still stuff like that to be explored and characters to kind of look out. It is tough just looking back and trying to explore. Like I said, just the point cost on some of those characters are just like, why? Like they should not be that much. But going forward, I'm really excited at seeing some of the characters that are coming out and the options that we can explore with them.
So with Way of the Force or the next couple sets that are coming out, what's a character? And I know you know all about the Star Wars canon from beginning to end. What hasn't come out yet in terms of character and idea? And like, what would you, whether it was good or not good, like what would you hop all over if it came out in the next couple sets? Like what theme or deck type are you looking to investigate in character pairings, or again, characters that haven't even come out yet?
I think for me, I really like the idea of certain characters letting you play weapons from the other side. So like the original Finn let you bring red villain vehicles and weapons. And then now Bo-Katan lets you have yellow villain. What is the other one? There's one more, right?
That lets you play.
Is there one more? Or is that just my idea that I'm hoping to
I mean,
through?
you could have won the whole tournament, Jack. If you did, you'd be like Edwin Chen. He's designing a card right now.
Yeah, I would have loved, and I think I've said this a few times even on our podcast, like if Ezra could be a blue hero, but like let him include Sith Holocron. Now, at this point, it would be a bad design because then Sith Holocron would rotate out, and now Ezra's just hanging out.
Right.
And, you know, he's not as useful anymore. But I really like that stuff. Like, if you take key cards from certain builds of other factions and letting the heroes or villains or vice versa, whatever it is, kind of take hold of them and seeing what they can do with them, like, that really excites me. So, like, Bo-Katan, seeing the fact that she can now have a, you know, hero has access to yellow villain if they run her, is exciting. But of course that comes with a point cost. Like, she's 20 points. So, you know, it'll be tough to figure out, but I'm excited for.
What about darksaber? What do you think about that card? Is this going to be the people thought like Maul was great, and then now I have 4 legendary Mauls and nobody's playing it? Or do you think this is like a legitimate beast of a card and is going to be super hot and you're going to see it in a lot of the top decks?
Yeah, darksaber, I like it. I'm not super sold. Some people seem to be a bit bigger on it than I am. Oftentimes, I think people have talked about like the big 20-point characters. You know, if it's on them, it suddenly becomes a 4 and a 5 side, which is crazy. But you still have to build up to that 4 resources. And yeah, it has redeploy. But when it redeploys down to a 10 or 9-point character, then it just has a 2 and a 3. And its sides are still super good, but you're not getting your max value out of it. So I like it a lot. I think there's got to be some deck that can fit it in where it's like a 15 point deck, both characters for 15 points. And I think it'll have room there. I'm not super sold on it. I think it'll see play because why not? But it does kind of stink, I guess. Maybe it doesn't stink in your opinion, Chip, but the fact this can't be great with Sabine.
Well, it's right. Sabine's a 20-point. Why? Because it doesn't have ambush?
Yeah, that's what's holding me back.
Yeah, the cheating, the action cheating that you really like to do. The mechanic breaking the game, yeah.
I'll put Infamous in, and then Then
There
we'll
you
be
go.
good.
So you'd be all set with that card. Well, so who do you think they're intending? Is it Bo-Katan that they're intending to use it? What was there? Do you think, what was there? Who's on the card, by the way?
That is Sabine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's from one of the episodes of Rebels. She ends up getting the darksaber and training with it and stuff like that.
Oh, right. I love that.
Basically,
Star Trek's
yeah,
amazing. I love Star Trek.
Of course. Whoever has it is the leader of Mandalore, basically. So,
Oh, right.
of course.
Of course they are. Yeah, Mandalore's really cool. Is that in the new Solo, or is it a spoiler?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Maybe if they reference Boba Fett, he's a Mandalorian.
Okay.
And
Good.
Django. Their armor. It's a giveaway.
Got you. Fingers crossed for baby Boba in the new set. We'll see. So your thumbs down on that. Well, so then what's the card? Is it Luke? Is it Luke's rod that you're most excited about? They've only spoiled like 2 cards. What are you most excited about what you've seen so far?
Well, I guess I don't want to, ignore, because you asked me who you think it was meant for. I think Lucas is, not Lucas, Jeremy's.
Maybe
Lucas
it is
still
Lucas.
has a hand in this set. I do think this will be the last set that Lucas had any potential touch in.
Okay.
Just in case cards got bumped from Legacies, we don't know exactly everything.
Sure.
But yeah, so I think this was really just them trying to give big characters a boost. Because right now it's like, all right, how many 12-point characters can I fit in a deck almost,
Right.
Running the 5 die, or it's like you're running Obi-Wan and Maz, like, you're looking at these smaller characters. Like, Obi's 18, but you're really just trying to get him action cheating with Maz. So I think they're just trying to give a big buff to those more fair but still high-costed characters. Like, even like Old Vader or, Bo-Katan would be a good one, just trying to fit them in there. So I think that's what they're trying to do a little bit, try to give those 3-die starts and those big characters a little bit more love.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, they clearly like big characters because what's his face came out there? The guy with all the arms, Grievous.
General Grievous, yeah.
What's his points? What is he? Isn't he 20 in the new one?
Yeah, I think 15, 20 maybe, I think is what he is.
Good God. He looks cool.
Yeah, 13 health. And I really love, like, thematically, like, his character. But 20 points, like, as I've said, it's kind of tough to roll with 3 dice right now.
Right.
Hopefully they fix that with more darksaber cards, but darksaber type cards, but who knows if that'll come to fruition.
Well, fingers crossed we get some new. So here's my prediction. Now, I wasn't there. I have no insider information whatsoever. I think that it's just going to drop. We might not even see any more spoilers. It just drops. I just don't know when. But what's your next tournament that you're going to be playing? Like when? What are you gearing for? Anything?
So store championships really, and as I mentioned, we got engaged this year, so it's tough for me. I'm not going to be able to make Gen Con or Nationals this year, just with kind of already taking off for Worlds and all these different things. But next year, I'm getting married on May the 4th, so I won't be at Worlds, but I'll make sure I'm at Gen Con and Nationals. So this year, it's nothing too crazy as I finish out, but I just recently bought tickets for PAX Unplugged, which is a Galactic qualifier.
Hot darn, Jack, guess what? Zach and I are going to PAX Unplugged. We couldn't. So Gen Con,
gosh.
I really wanted to take my daughter to Gen Con. And so you can get tickets, no problem. But like hotels, forget about it. Mike mentioned it on the last podcast we did. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I can get a hotel. I don't care if I have to pay. Yeah. I can't even pay. Like there's no.
And then you looked at it. Yeah.
And there's nowhere to stay. Like I don't even know where to stay. Like, do you stay 20 minutes away? I'm okay taking an Uber, but so I don't know.
Tommy's done that. I think this might be the first year in a while that Tommy actually hasn't been to Gen Con. Like he's gone there. He made well, that's the joke we ask, or the question we ask now. It's what was better, my top 16 at Worlds or his top 8 at Gen Con?
Oh, did he top 8'd there? I feel bad. I didn't know
last
that.
year.
Oh. Well, how many players were there? There was like 2 players at that point?
There. Yeah, 2 players, and he came in 8th.
So. No, I'm kidding, Tommy. Tommy, we kid because we love.
Maybe not Shane, though.
You're right.
We don't love that guy.
No, I don't even. Is he even doing
They're probably super jealous that I'm on here talking to you, and they're not.
Well, I didn't want to spoil it, but I did put something in the mail for all of you. So make sure, and it's going to you. So the 2 of them should know you need to share. And I couldn't put a whole lot more because it was 1 stamp. So you'll see.
Was it something that you showed before?
No, that I had to put that in a bigger envelope. That is coming.
Oh, okay.
That will be there.
Okay.
No, it's something even better.
Sweet.
Yeah, you'll like it.
I'm excited.
Yeah, you'll like
I hope they don't listen to this so I can just keep it all.
You would do that. But yeah, so PAX Unplugged may be the next step. So I talked to Zach. I got clearance from the wife because when you're married, as you know, it's about compromise and give and take, as you just mentioned, which sounded, very nice of you. But the reality is, it's whatever she allows me to do. So she's actually letting me go. And Zach has checked with his wife, Jamie, who's a great person. And I've known him for a long, long time. And so we're going to do it. We're going to drive down. Should be awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll have to link up when you're there. And last year it was huge. Like, since it was the first one, like, Knights of Wren was there, Artificery was there. They even had like a meetup like they had at Worlds.
Oh, did they really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, they had that. So I'm hoping it's as big this year as it has been, or as it was last year. I actually think last year was the first year of PAX Unplugged. So,
because didn't they do the that was the first? Was that the first Galactic qualifier?
Yeah. So. And again, it's hard for me to keep track of where I heard all these interviews, but there was an interview that somebody did, I think it was on Knights of Ren also, with like the head guy from Cascade Games.
Yeah, right.
And he said that it's almost kind of going to be that PAX Unplugged is like the kickoff in terms of the Galactic qualifiers and like prizes. So starting there, we're probably going to be some of the first ones to see a whole new wave of whatever it might be for prizes.
See, I'm all about getting better and getting more competitive, and I want to be in that scene just to at least show that I can play the game. But to me, man, grinding it and doing pods and just having fun and doing the spot gloss stuff, and I love it. I think they're doing a great job with that stuff.
Yeah, it was a blast. Worlds was good too. I wish they had more.
Yeah,
for me to get. Like, they only had Hondo, but it was still good for the resources and the fact they had like all these games and all these people trying to get different stuff.
The one thing I wanted to add, so when you were there, like in some of the pictures, it looks like do they have like Star Wars themed rooms around there? It looks like you're on a deck of a ship in a lot of those pictures.
Yeah, I guess the entrance to like the main room where they had the streaming room,
right,
and Destiny actually didn't get to play in there. I think it was more reserved for Armada, X-Wing, some of the bigger games that require more space.
Like physically.
But yeah, it almost looked like, physically required more space. The entrance almost looked like it was the entrance to like a ship. And then when you're in there, they had like a bunch of wall posters of different Star Wars characters.
That's
and
cool.
It was cool because then you can speculate like, oh, we haven't seen this artwork in Destiny yet. Like, is this character? Like, we saw young Anakin, we saw Watto. We saw like different artworks of characters we've seen already, so it'll just be interesting to see going forward, like how much of that is actually going to come to Destiny, or it could be promos or stuff they do in different areas, but it's still fun to speculate.
For sure. So I'm excited that you're going to go to PAX Unplugged. That's good news. What is your one hope for the game, Jack, closing up? Where do you hope things go over the next few months?
What? Sorry, you skipped again. I don't know why
see,
we're having so many issues with that.
It's because I leave you with these amazing, thought-provoking questions, and then they just. It was like the denouement as an English major. That this was it, and it was. What's your hope for the game? What do you like in the next few months? What do you hope happens with Destiny? What do you want to see for it?
I really just wish FFG would be transparent. Like, if FFG came out and said, like, "Hey, there was an issue." Like, whether it was Legacies or Way of the Force, we're going to not be able to release it till like June or July.
Right.
Like, it stinks, but at least they're open, and I know they care about the fans of what we're thinking. And not saying that they don't necessarily, but at times I get why people can feel frustrated from the lack of news. And now, of course, we've gotten spoilers for prizes in terms of Gen Con and Nationals, which is great. And a lot of the stuff there looks great. But store championships, like, this is what the casual players are going to be attending. Like, this is what most of your fan base is going to be concerned about and wanting to go to. And it's great. Like, this was the first season for me in Destiny with store championships, and it was a blast. And that's really what kind of drove me more to play the game more, buy more stuff, and eventually create a podcast like I have. And it's like the fact they haven't released that yet, or even talked about it, or even just said, "Hey, we're still having them. Don't worry, it's on the way," is a little weird. So going forward, I think Star Wars Destiny is in a great spot. Like, Worlds was fantastic. A lot of people are really enjoying it. And even though there's been such a lull, the fact that there's still so much going on, there's still content creators putting out topics and stuff like that. And even if they're reaching a little bit, you can't blame them. Our last podcast episode was a little rough.
Yeah, the Boss Nass. Was it Boss Nass? Is that a character that you were talking about? Now, that's from the first Star Wars, or the prequels?
Yeah.
See?
Yep.
I watched them.
Look at you, man.
Even though you love
so
them.
Proud of you.
You love them. You're going to play Gungan deck? Get out of here. You're not going to play that.
I think that'll be Shane's deck, not mine.
Oh my
every
God.
time he activates Boss Nass, I'll make him...
whatever he does, yeah.
Exactly.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay. Boss Nass, please.
Yeah, so it's just like, I think we're in a great spot. I think there's a lot of momentum to be had, and I just don't want it to see it go to waste. Because I think if they were to start keeping up with spoilers, and I know Zach Bunn from Team Covenant has said they have spoilers, and they're just like, putting together their video because they have such high quality stuff. Of course, It takes a little bit of time. So hopefully once that kicks out, FFG will just kind of start pumping them out. And either, hey, if they just released it to content creators, sure. Or just release it without giving it to content creators, sure, that's fine. As a podcast, I'd like some, but
that was a
I'd Freudian
slip. That was a Freudian slip, big time right there.
Yeah, it was.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like Sir Christopher has ruined any chance that I would ever get them. So thank you for that, Chris. That was great.
Affiliation with him.
Good Lord. Yeah, he called FFG FF Games. So that was but substitute F with a 4-letter word. But
I listened.
He loves them though. I mean, the good news is from everything that I heard was that the game's in good hands in terms of the people who are behind it. It just doesn't seem like there's a huge staff. So like, giving them a break is something that I've really tried to do. And know that whatever they put out, I mean, it's just their stuff is such high quality though. Like the stuff looks good, the cards are good, the dice is good, the packaging's good. Like they've got all the pieces together. They just need to communicate just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you, it's just it's such a fun game. It's so freaking addictive.
Oh, and like you said, like FFG makes fantastic games. Like I played X-Wing, like we've talked about a little bit, I played it super casually, so obviously I didn't know all the answers to stuff you were even asking me.
Right.
But it's still fun to just
hit
the table every now and again. Legion's a blast. And it's just like I wish they just kind of upped their game a little bit. Maybe hired an extra person or two, or just started communicating a little bit more with their fan bases in terms of that. Because it is tough to just not hear anything about your game. Yeah, sure, hearing prizes is nice, but people want to get some updates about other stuff. Yeah.
I did break down and buy a freaking spot gloss Hondo. I have no idea why. I think it was, I was out and I was just bummed that I didn't go, and I saw it. It was relatively cheap. I feel cheap inside for even doing that. Like I didn't earn it and I bought it.
Yeah. I don't think you have to worry about what you earn, because ultimately, like spot gloss stuff like that is really just like anybody could just grind pods and get them. So don't feel too hard on yourself for that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thanks, Jack. Well, Jack, if people listen to me, they listen to you. But if they don't, for some reason they live under a rock, how do they find you and all the stuff that you're doing? That was another moment, and I cut out again, I bet you. I think the internet is telling us to stop. Did you pay your internet bill? I think it's your internet. Maybe it's mine. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
Hello?
What? Did you pay your internet bill? Is that what it is? You're like Sir Christopher. He has like a mouse in a wheel that keeps his internet going. It's like wireless. Like literally there's a wire someplace that goes up to the top of his roof.
I don't know, man. I've never had these problems.
God, it must be
fully
mine.
blame you.
Must be mine. I was just asking you, how can people find you? Where do they go to hear more Jack?
Yeah, we are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We have a podcast just called Golden Dice, and we're on iTunes. We're on Google Play and a few other options. So if you have a phone and you're looking for a podcast, then we're definitely on there. We are starting to get a little bit more into streaming. So like I said, we're on YouTube, and we're also on Twitch. So whichever one you prefer. Nice. I actually think Twitch comes through a little bit more clear.
Yeah, definitely.
I dig it. So Twitch is fun. I prefer it, but YouTube, I know that's where we post some of our podcasts. We upload them with like an audio file and just kind of like a blank background type thing, so people can listen to them on YouTube. And every now and again, I'm able to record some gameplay videos, but it's been a little while with that. Just with life, it's been tough to even sit down, record, and then upload, edit, all that stuff. So,
well, good. Or you could take your webcam and just point it at a dice tray and roll Sabine 1,000 times, because that would ratings bonanza.
Oh, of course. I'll have one viewer. It'll be you.
Right.
And
saying that you're cheating. Look see, he didn't roll right. Look he didn't hit his hand with the roll. That's the Lucas way. You're supposed to put your hand out and then roll the dice in your hand. That's what he said to do. Well, it's all right. But listen, I genuinely mean it, Jack. You're a great guy, and I've enjoyed listening to your stuff. It's fantastic. It's always well produced. I even like Shane. So I like all the guys, and it's nice seeing them when they come on. And, Tommy has a new, he should be making D-House t-shirts, who's from the Jedi Trials, because the guy doesn't play for 3 months, has a kid, and then top 8s.
Yeah. Tommy's his biggest fan right now.
See?
Gives him hope.
That is just...
Helps him sleep at night.
Oh, God. It's awesome. But anyway, definitely, people, if you're not subscribed now, you better go do it. It's Jack from Golden Dice. And thanks for giving up your evening tonight, Jack. You're the man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It was an absolute blast. And I look forward to hanging out with you at PAX Unplugged.
Oh, I can't wait. And I apologize for anything Zach does ahead of time.
Oh, and Kappa Cup, right?
Oh, Kappa Cup. Yeah, we didn't mention Kappa Cup. Wait a minute. I feel like I got to give more information about Kappa Cup.
Did we already stop? I have no idea.
No, I kept going. It's in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, it's in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Hershey.
And it's normally been so you can go get some chocolate if you want to.
Nice.
While you're down there.
I should tell Emily I'm going. I didn't tell her that yet.
Ooh.
It's on the list of things to talk about this weekend.
Well, you have to space them out, right? You
Yes.
did PAX Unplugged recently. In a few months, you'll do Kappa Cup.
That's a good marriage. Space it out. You just space things out. Don't take that advice. It's terrible marriage advice. Don't take that.
So it's actually the second weekend of October, and it's a whole weekend, but it has a few games around it. I think Destiny is just Saturday.
Gotcha. Perfect.
It used to be like a big X-Wing thing and Armada, and it's kind of expanded. And now this is the first year they're including Destiny. So I know you and I are officially sponsors, and I believe Ray was Thundershot, now Jackalman Games. So I guess Jackalman Games is now sponsoring it. So the three of us will at least be there. I know Shane and Tommy are planning to attend that, definitely.
Nice.
So
good. That'd be awesome.
It'll be a blast. And yeah, it's like a smaller type tournament, but I think it'll still be really good. I know you have your own little special side event planned. We're working on streaming it, so
good.
It'll be just something to kind of mix things up a little bit after store champs have ended and Gen Con and Nationals are over.
Well, see, I need something that I could actually potentially win. So I did something with Jackalman Games, which was awesome, doing that solo format, which I loved. And although it was totally stacked against me because I played against Kylo, which clearly now wins the world championship at that time. But yeah, I want to do something definitely unique and maybe that format. And there's donations going to the food pantry there, so it's like canned food to get in, and we'll do something super fun and themed. But yeah, being Saturday, I'm going to drive in really early, get there, set up, and then probably shoot out later that night. But can't wait to do it. Super excited for that.
Yeah, it should be a blast.
All right, glad you mentioned it. See, you're better than me. You've got this thing down now. I'm just an amateur. We're all a squirrel trying to get a nut in the world of Golden Dice. That doesn't sound good. It's Jack from Golden Dice, everybody. Thank you for listening. And follow us on Twitter. Discard TO Reroll. Facebook, we never update it. Let's be honest. Who are we kidding? But it's there. If you want to leave a comment, send us a questions at discardedreroll.com. And as always, even if you play Sabine Ezra, I hope that all of your rerolls are special ones. We'll see you next week.